What's going on, everybody? Jerry with 3DHP, and I've got some really cool resin from Funcrecol. They sent me out 4 of their clear resins. They're different colors, and we're going to print some cool stuff on the GK2 right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, Funcrecol sent me out 4 of their clear resins. We have green, blue, yellow, and the red. And since blue is my favorite color, we're going to start off with blue. So let me set these other 3 out of the way. Let's open up the box, see what we got here. You can pick this up over on Amazon here in the US. Or Amazon, wherever you're located. Oh wow, UV curing putty. They've got a sample of their curing putty with the application popsicle stick and a little bit of sandpaper. And I'll be reviewing that product also. But here's a sample that came with it. Let's take a look at their paperwork here real quick. Product manual. Let's see, they got standard resin, tough resin, clear resin, miniature resin, high precision statue resin, matte 3D resin, ABS-like resin, orthodontic resin, and flexible resin, SLA resin. Alrighty, it's got all recommended settings, exposure times, burn-in layer times. Now typically, if you know my channel and you know me, I like to shake it up and pour and go. So we're going to see how that works out. I'm not going to change anything from my stock settings that I work with all my gray resins, and we're going to see how the first print comes out. Tell a little bit about the company. I'll show all this at the end of the video. You get a close-up on all this so you can read it. And let's open up the package. And it's their clear resin, color blue. Make sure you shake it up real well. Okay, I've got the vat all cleaned out of the Uniformation, and to help relieve any kind of popping that you tend to get sometimes on resin printers, I use Rain-X. I put a few drops of Rain-X on the screen or on the FEP, take my blue shop towel, wipe it real well, and we're all ready to go here. See if I can get a close-up on that. Well, that's pretty. That's a real pretty color. And I'll set up my resin laps and we'll get going. See how this beauty came out. I don't see any damage. Looks like it printed fine. You close the lid so when you scrape this off the build plate, you don't get any debris flying back in the build surface in the vat. Well, we're finally all done. I've been printing like a madman trying to get all this stuff done. And the skull here is by Chelsea Creates Things over on Thangs. It is a, I forget the name of it, it's a flower skull. I can't pronounce the words in front of it. It's a Mexican or Hispanic style skull from like Day of the Dead. And you can pick this up over on Thangs. Currently at the time of taping, this is a free file you can download. And this is at 75% scale. And then I have a dragon here, which I bought quite a while back from Photos Mint. You can find this on its page over on Thangs, and I believe I got this one on My Mini Factory. But there's different places where you can find this. This is the pre-supported version that I used here. Now initially, when I loaded up the file, I went ahead and made it larger. And working with this particular colored resin, when I go to remove the supports, they kind of remind me of TPU. They were a little bit harder to pull off. There were a lot of them since I pre-supported at an angle and I added auto supports. Because of the scales on the Dragon, I had a million, literally a ton of little tiny supports, and they were kind of a pain to remove. So I went ahead and I stopped, after this print got done, I went ahead and I went with the pre-supported, the smaller file that Photos had included, and I went with that. Now, right after I did this Dragon, I did have a couple fails. When I done this one, I had a small nick in my FEP. Kind of ignoring it till it got bad, but then when I done my second print, let's see, I started printing I was using the red. I was going to print another one this size, and I realized I was having so much trouble getting off all the supports after I had put it in my IPA and cleaning it up, that I stopped the print. So that wasted a bunch of resin. Then I started over at it, doing a smaller version, and then I had a fail on the small Dragon. And that's because I torn a small hole in my FEP, which leaked through to my screen. Thank God I had a screen protector on. So I cleaned the vat. I had extra FEP, FEP, and screen protector I'd got from Uniformation, and I got all that replaced, and I started over, so that wasted a bunch of resin. But I went ahead and I continued, and each one of these little dragons took like 8 hours, 8.5 hours to do. The skulls were longer. I didn't time it. I don't remember exactly. I went with default settings. Now, with different types of companies, different types of resins, a lot of times they have different recommendations, and you got to run tests. Sometimes it's easy to get things to print, sometimes it's not. But with a lot of resins, a lot of gray resins I use, I shake it up, I pour and I go. I use my stock settings. I don't like tweaking and testing over and over, try to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I would rather just go buy a resin that I just pour it and go and don't have to mess with it. So I'm reviewing this resin for Funcrecol. I think that's how you pronounce it. Funcrecol. Funcrecol 3D. They sent me out 4 bottles to try out, and yeah, pour and go work for me. I'll show you the paper here in a minute. I'll take a close-up of it. They have recommended settings. They got a lot of different types of resin that you can work with. Typically, for most of my models, I go with gray. Gray works fine, but if you want to work with colors, hey, they work perfectly fine. The GK2, no issues whatsoever. And then I cleaned it in my IPA and my Anycubic Wash and Cure Plus, I think it's what it's called. It's a big vat. There's one clip that I showed you where I was using that. I didn't want to be so repetitive and show you me cleaning everything. But it's a lot easier to pre-wash these really good. Remove the supports with a scraper by hand, however you do it. Rewash it again, remove more supports, rewash it again, whatever it takes, and then get all the supports off. These are all hollowed, so once they're completely dried out, I let these air out. They aired them out. Anyway, I let all these dry out. I didn't have to go out in the garage, use my air compressor. I'm using some, what do you call it? I bought it at Lowe's. Big can, I can't think of what it's called. They call it fuel now, but that's what I wash with. IPA, what's it called? Well, I have it here on the screen. I can't think of the name of what they call it. But that's what I'm currently washing with. And I put the lid back on because it's really strong. It's got a really strong odor. Now, the IPA that I'm using has a strong odor. The resin, didn't notice any odor. Of course, everything has odors. Everything is toxic, technically. But working with this, I didn't smell it in the house. I didn't notice any bad odor coming from this resin. So, always use it in a well-ventilated area, of course, but I didn't notice any problems with it. But it printed really nice, and currently with all the resin, they're giving you a small, their UV curing putty, 5 grams. They're giving a little tiny tin of it. It has a little popsicle stick for an applicator, and a little piece of sandpaper for if you have any cracks or any things you want to fill in. This stuff works really good. I've already released a video on it. They have the wax type that I call it, looks like wax. Then they got the kind in the pen with a small applicator for getting little tiny areas. I've already got a video out of both of those. They both work fine. I have to continue working on my son's model that I'm working on. I'll be using a lot of that. Here's a close-up of all their paperwork. I literally scotch taped it to the desk so that I could film it with my cell phone. And here's a close-up of the prints. Came out amazing. Great sculpting by two amazing designers. But yeah, that's about it. Please like, subscribe, and share, everybody. I'll list all my channel members on YouTube here on the screen. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please share out this video. Go over to Amazon. Check this out. Check out this resin. Prints perfectly fine for me. Had no issues. It's just that when I was removing the supports, they didn't come off as easy as I thought they would. They seem to be more pliable, kind of like a TPU. But I did get them all off. And on one of the parts, I left it in my IPA for quite a while. I kind of forgot about it. And I left it in there soaking for a few hours. And then they came off all the easier. It was really super simple to get them off that way. But yeah, they cleaned up fine. You know, resin print's great. I have no problem with it whatsoever. So until next time, happy resin printing, everybody. And go check out the resin on Amazon. Thank you very much. Later.